Hello, Shannon. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, hanging in like everybody else.
Yeah. Good morning, Jocelyn.
Morning.
We'll wait a few more minutes. See if anybody else joins us. Get going. How's the weather in Maine, John?
It is raining. I was delayed longer doing grocery shopping early this morning, so I'm pulled over and in my car.
That's a common place for I think a lot of us to be sometimes.
Yeah, how are things out your way?
It's rainy. I mean, just like spring. Nothing really to complain about here. We've such mild weather here compared to the East Coast, so it's
And we've just that sort of dreary 39 to 45 degree weather.
Yeah. Jocelyn used to live in the East Coast. Good morning, Daniela.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Jacob says hello too, but I think he's like naked somewhere, so he's not going to join.
Okay. We'll just wait one more minute and see if anyone else joins us. Do you know John? You know John.
Yeah.
And then Jocelyn is John and Daniela. Usually it's just me and Jocelyn on the call, so thanks for coming.
Well, that's because it's 5:30 in the morning your time.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
I fouled it up last week. I had it in my calendar on Friday, and so my error. It's 8:30 here, so it's a bit more civilized.
Yeah, I'm in Boston, so I agree. It's definitely doable here, but I don't know why you would do this to yourself, Shannon.
Well, the goal is to be up before the kids, but both of my kids are up right now. I just have to seclude myself in my office.
Going around with my master's group is we think we've forgotten how to get up at 4:30, 4:45 to go to swim practice.
Yep. That's where I'm just practicing. That's what Jocelyn and I are doing, is we're practicing. Tracy's here today. Yay. Good morning, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Good morning. Hi.
This is so exciting. Thanks for coming, everybody.
I ran through an end of quarter at work and had a few, a Thursday and a Tuesday where things just didn't work. And I'm like, oh, I hope they know that I want to come back.
We're just going to keep having it. But last time it was just me and Jocelyn, but that's where we kind of brainstormed ideas of things that we'd want to talk about and having guests. And so yeah, it doesn't have, I don't know. I understand everyone's got a life.
Oh my gosh. My husband's like 5:30 in the morning for her. And I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to work around her kids.
No, they're both up. They're both up like 5:15. They were up like, where's mommy?
Well, man, I'm just going to say 5:30 is not that early. I mean, I'm at the pool at 5:30 and we're pulling covers.
Since I don't have a workout to go to first thing in the morning, I don't know, we had shifted for daylight savings time and I had been like, day after daylight savings time, okay, I'm going to 5:30 swim practice. It has to be done. And then this just, it undid it all. Within a week, everybody in our house, which is, I think, not unusual for me, but man, even my husband, I think it's unusual for him.
Yeah.
He's usually. Hi, John.
How are you?
If you don't know, there's a gallery view. If you look in the top corner, there's a speaker view and a gallery view. And if you switch to gallery view, you can see everyone at the same time.
Oh, well, no.
The upper left.
What are you going to say for future things if I just start doing all these things now, huh?
just giving tips. So Danielle is our special guest star today. She's going to talk to us a little bit about swimming, but before that, let's just do like super brief intro. I think Jocelyn maybe just went to get her coffee. We only have the 40 minutes. I still just have the free Zoom. I haven't set up like the paid Zoom where you get more time. So we only have 40 minutes. So
Okay.
Try to keep our intros brief so that we can really dig in with Daniela, and maybe still have time for a 5-minute visualization that we do at the end. Fun. Are you there, Jocelyn? Are you coming back?
Yeah, I got water.
Okay. That's acceptable beverage too. Okay, so let's start with John. He's on my left in my gallery view. We're gonna go around that way. Tell us just super brief intro, John.
Sure. I think I know most of you. I'm from Maine, open water swimmer mostly. Had a failed English Channel fall because of weather, and now even finding it hard to get a date for 2021. So.
Wow.
Jocelyn.
Oh, because my view is different than your view.
Oh, okay. Yep, you're next.
So I live in Ashland, Oregon, and Shannon and I have been going to our little local lake for this past winter, and then last winter we started it too. And I swam with Rogue Valley Masters, and I've swum and played water polo really kind of my whole life. And it dawned on me yesterday that there is a creek in my neighborhood. I can actually walk to it. So I stood in the creek for 5 minutes yesterday to keep up with my cold water acclimation. So that's me.
Tracy, you're next on my screen.
What's that?
You do a quick intro?
Okay. So I'm Tracy. I think I know everybody here. I am based in Indianapolis. Yeah, open water swimmer like the rest of you guys. And I had an early season or big events planned early season this year. I was doing SCAR, and I'm still signed up for a couple stages of 8 Bridges, and it looks to me like it's all getting canceled. And I didn't. I had been so heavy money and time commitment early in the season. I didn't really. I thought, oh, I'll keep the rest of the season open and fill something in. So I don't know. Now I'm like, oh, it's all getting canceled.
Yeah. I'm gonna go next, and then I'll have Daniela go, because then we'll take it away with some questions. I think you all know me, but I'm just with you. I noticed you guys were mentioning your things that aren't happening for you, and we had. I guess I'm supposed to do Loch Ness in August, but I don't even think August is going to happen. I think any travel at that time would still be really cautionary, so I'm probably canceling that, or at least pushing it out a year. But I also had what I'm most currently sad about, I guess, is I was going to go to Dominica in May to check it out for a potential swim camp place, the island of Dominica. So unfortunately, won't be able to go to Dominica, but oh well.
Keep that on the list, Shannon. My husband's always wanted to go there. When I say, oh, I want to go to a swim camp, like, oh yeah, let's go.
That was when I first started investigating it. My husband had sailed there. He used to sail ages ago, lifetimes ago, and one of the places they'd stop was Dominica, and he was like, "Oh, it's good. You should go there." It's like, okay.
Yeah. And the Lake Shasta.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The camp, of course. I was supposed to have my camp in 3 weeks. That's canceled.
That would have been.
It was going to be really fun. We rented a houseboat, and I had 7 people to come aboard, and Jocelyn was my crew and another friend, and we were gonna take people marathon swimming in Lake Shasta, which is a monstrous lake in Northern California that's just comes up to temp a lot earlier season than you would expect. So it was going to be probably 60s end of April, which would be perfect for one of the people coming. Tracy was going to SCAR, and she just wanted to do some last minute cold acclimatization. So anyway, lots of stuff for us to be mourning, but hopefully we can do some other kinds of community building and find out a lot more about each other. And that's my segue to Daniela. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I think most of you know me, but I am more recent into the open water world. But I was a pool swimmer and I didn't swim in college, and then I moved to Boston and I didn't know what the hell to do with myself because I was training for triathlons when I graduated from college because I gained so much weight. And my mom was like, you've got to go to the Y, like you got to work out with me. So I started training with this triathlon group and they were like, we need someone to like push us in swimming. But then there was no chance in hell I was keeping up with them biking and running. So I realized like, nah, I hate that. So I did a couple triathlons and sucked really bad. Like, I don't understand, like swimming is like 2% of a triathlon, but everyone claims it's the hardest thing. So like, why not make it harder? Like, I'd rather swim a marathon than run a marathon, but whatever. Anyway, so then I came to Boston and somehow I got roped into coaching a master's, like an unofficial master's team, and at like a 3-lane, 22.5-yard pool in a basement that perpetually was at the coldest 86 degrees. And we did a like hard workout. Yeah. One lane was narrower than the others. And so one lane's narrow, the other lane's in the middle. And the third lane has a ladder in it. And it's not just like a regular ladder. It's like a walk-in like ramp ladder that they like won't take out, even though it's completely removable for some practice. They're like, oh, it's like a risk if anybody needs to get it. And we're like, we're a master swim clinic, like, or master swim class. I think we can handle using a regular ladder. And they were like, absolutely not. So we actually had 2.5 lanes. And then we would put like the person who didn't know how to swim at all, because we had like 20 people come to practice, but at least 5 of them couldn't swim the length of a pool. But because it was in a community center, it was like free and open to all. And like, I was a volunteer coach and I had to pay for my membership and pay to coach. That was fun. Thank you, City of Boston. Yeah. So we couldn't like refuse anyone. So we had a guy who'd literally never swam before, and he came and like, he looked legit. He had a Speedo, he had goggles. He was like trying to figure out how to put on a swim cap, but I didn't notice that. I just saw like someone be like, oh, let me just put this on your head. And I was like, oh, that's normal. I do that sometimes when I've got like a bad hair day. So he like gets in the water and then like promptly sinks on his second stroke, and I'm like, not again. So I put him in like the 20-yard lane because of this ramp, like 19-yard lane. Yeah, and like there was always somebody in that stupid ramp lane. They can't do a flip turn on one side, and the other side's too deep for them to feel comfortable in because it goes all the way up to their nose because it's 6 feet or 5'11" deep or whatever. I couldn't. Anyway, so the weird thing was like I was coaching from the water because I got roped into coaching while I was swimming. So like the coach left, she got pregnant and left, and I was like, I have to swim. So I would literally try to coach people between sets on like how to not sink. That was fun. So I got really good at that, like 30-second coaching sessions, explain the set, explain some technique thing to focus on, and be like, for the next like 500 yards, we're focusing on like a catch, a high elbow catch, or we're focusing on like every single stroke, we're pushing out with our hands, like, yeah. So then this girl comes up to me and she's like, hey, I signed up for this weird event called, it's like a 10K up in Vermont. And I was like, no, dude, no. So I told her, like, oh, hell no. I'm not swimming in some lake up in Vermont for 10K. That's too far. I don't swim that much. And she was like, okay, it's like literally 3 hours of swimming. Like, we've done that at swim practice before. And I was like, all right, you're right. I should just do it. So I started training. And this was at the same time that this random dude came into my life named Jeffrey Ferris, who lives here. He's like a triathlete and he owns a bike shop. And he invited me into this open water extravaganza one morning. So we had like a couple weeks to plan it. I got a wetsuit because the whole thing was we're going to swim from Hull to Little Brewster Island, because at the September, like the fall equinox, there's a king tide, and because of that, the low tide is at its lowest, and it creates this giant sandbar between Little Brewster and Greater Brewster Islands. And I was like, oh, this sounds cool. And then it comes out we have to leave at 3:45 in the morning from Hull. We have 6 kayaks and canoes for 6 swimmers. We don't have any type of gear. I was like, cool, I have a wetsuit. I can do this. It's a 1.5 miles. What's the worst that can happen? Well, A, you can lose your canoer / kayaker. B, you can throw up violently for about 1.5 hours. C, you can get detained by the Coast Guard because it's the naval base / military base on Little Brewster Island, and you can't just like walk onto that shit. C, they can call the ambulance and require you to not be allowed to swim back, and in fact detain you on a Coast Guard boat until you get to Hull, the mainland, where they have an ambulance waiting for you because they're convinced that you're going to die. Which, granted, I didn't look good, but I wasn't dying. Like, I looked way better than some of the way I've come out of the water on other swims. Yeah, so I was like, fuck this. Like, this is my first open water swimming experience, and it's been a shit show. Great story now. Like, I walked onto a naval base and got detained in a wetsuit. And the best part about it, I'll never swim in a wetsuit again, even though I own one. The wetsuit was so poorly fitting to me, even though it's literally the same one that I bought, because they don't make stuff my size, especially like not for super tall, beefy women like me. But the neck piece of my, even though like I put a glide on and Vaseline and everything, the neck piece chafed me so bad in like literally the hour that I was swimming and throwing up, that I had, for weeks, I had people asking me if I needed help, like out of a domestic violence situation. I had people asking me like if I needed like preservation help because they thought I had tried to hang myself with a rope. Like I had all the way around, and then I was pulling scabs that were like pulling like necklaces around my neck. Like that's how bad, like it was like open blisters chafing from literally like 1.5 miles of rough water. That's it. I'm like never wearing a wetsuit again. I don't care why or who or why. Like no. So after that, I was like, I'm not doing a 6-mile swim. And then my best friend at the time and my super twin somebody was like, let's just do it. Like a 0 swim practice. We get a weekend away, and I was like, fine. So we started training, and we didn't know how to train for it. We were just like, we're just gonna go and swim. So the first time we did a 5-mile training swim in Walden, the water was really, really warm because you were training in like end of June, early July. We didn't understand like proper nutrition at that point for open water swimming. Like you always like stop at the end of a pool and like drink water or Gatorade, but we didn't bring that. And by the time we got out after 5 miles, I dropped the F-bomb on a 2-year-old. So had a little bit of anger, electrolyte imbalance situation. Now I know how to recognize it in others. Great learning experience. A friend who drove us to Walden was like, oh my God, are you guys okay? And we're like, we don't know, because we have anger. Like it's not even we are angry, like we have anger that we need to like expel. And he's like, do you want a bagel? And we were like, yeah. So he gave us his everything bagel, and then we promptly licked all the toppings off it and handed him back a non-everything bagel, just like a solo thing bagel. And we realized like, holy shit, salt is like a major thing in our lives. So we learned a lot that day, and I have been an open water swimmer since.
Wow, that's quite the introduction.
Sorry, I figured that would be more entertaining for you than just me being like, I swim. Sometimes I do this thing where I get in a pool and I bitch a lot.
I swim so I can hear Daniela's stories. You know, I have to. I'm realizing as she's talking, I'm like, that's what I'm really missing. I don't get to go to any events where I get to hear crazy stories from other swimmers.
Yeah. What's your favorite place to swim, Daniela?
Lake Willoughby. I haven't really done like a bunch of like super exotic swim locations, and I realized like years after I swim in a location, I actually am like craving that location that I swam once in. Like I continuously daydream like when I would swim, and I'm thinking about going to Walden next week when the weather is slightly better and it's not raining literally all day, every day. I sometimes in Walden, because it's just like swimming around a toilet bowl, like you're in a washer and it's just like circulating you around. Like if you need to do 10 laps of Walden, it sucks. So all you can think of is like, I want to see something other than a goddamn fish and a tree, like anything else.
There's turtles in Walden.
They're not this early. let's be fair, like there's nothing in Walden this early because we're dumbasses, and it's like all you see are just coatings of brown decaying leaves on the bottom of where will be like fish nests and other decaying things. But yeah, like in August, absolutely, there are turtles. Like I've grabbed turtles in Walden and been like, "Hi, little friend. Like, I'm not gonna give you kisses because you can have salmonella, but I'm gonna spit you back. But like, hi, friend." And then they like swim away, and I'm like, turtles. But anyway, when I'm swimming in Walden, sometimes I like fantasize about seeing the cactuses out in Saguaro National Forest and being like, "They're cheering for me, cactus." But yeah. So I love Lake Willoughby because A, I can be naked, and B, I think it's the most beautiful spot on earth. There's Jacob, my kayaker, walking around in a towel. Good morning. Welcome to my life in social isolation. But actually, he's always like that. If he's not naked, he's in a towel. So like, actually, totally normal all times of my life. So I think he's trying to be a little more modest now. He pulled his towel higher. But anyway, yeah, there's some days where I'm like, oh, like how cool would it be if I was like literally somewhere else right now? And usually that place is either Lake Willoughby or for some reason all the crap we swim through at Scar, even though I hated Scar. It was awful.
What was the favorite? Cactus, I love that.
Yeah, but I see. I'm gonna try.
They literally have their arms up cheering for you.
The I hated it part. I'm gonna remember that all the cactuses are waving to me in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah. What's your favorite event that you've participated in, Daniela?
I think NWAT was one of the best. I guess I would ask for a more formal identifier of what you call best. So I can
favorite event, like something. Well, so it sounds like Willoughby had an impression on you, but like, is there another like event?
Yeah,
that you,
but
Willoughby had events,
an impression. That's fair. So like, Willoughby had an impression, not because I've never actually swam a formal event in Willoughby. Like I've never done the 5-miler. I kayaked for the 5-miler. I've done I've kayaked for all the Willoughby events. But I've never done an actual race in Willoughby. I just get in naked and swim around, and it's like my happy place. I tried to do a crossing of Willoughby, and I almost lost my kayaker in my kayak, and he lost his glasses, and I had to break into my own car. And it was not Jacob. That was not that kayaker. I had a kayaker who should not have ever been in the water, and he wasn't wearing his life jacket. Like, there are so many things I learned that day because we almost died on a 5-mile crossing across Willoughby. Story if you want it later, whatever you want. But not my favorite. But like, Willoughby swimming around naked, probably my favorite like thing. But I would say like organized formal race or event. NWIT has a lot of memories for me, and I felt like it was very, very well organized, and the water was warm, which I like.
It's a good one. Yeah, NWIT. I have funny memories of NWIT too. And you already kind of went over the why. And this question, it's kind of loaded, but are you a process or an outcome person?
I used to be a process person when I was training for all of my stuff pre-SCAR. So like SCAR broke me in 2017 and I turned into an outcome person. But before that, I was very into how many miles am I putting in to train for the thing. So like people like to say like when you swim a mile, you swim a ton of miles before you swim a mile for a race, right? Like you swim hundreds of miles before your 1-mile event. So I felt that way. But then I DNF'd at SCAR and I like couldn't deal, and it was really bad. Jake could probably tell you about how it legit broke me. And after that, that was the same year that I was registered for NWIT. And so when I went to NWIT, like, yes, I remember some of the miles in NWIT, but I essentially remember like I swam 26 miles. I yelled, we called my parents from the water. They told me to keep going, and I swam 10 more. And then I finished and fell asleep and played of food. So like at that point, I remember the outcome because I had an outcome I didn't want at SCAR. And now I have this really weird, and I think Chris Grafe and I talked about it at one point too, like there are a lot of very experienced, much more than me, experienced open water swimmers that have, you know, a lot more miles and races and years under their belts. But I feel like I've fallen into it too. After 2017, like I kind of went with I put in a ton, like I swam 500 miles before April, the year that I was training for SCAR. Like I was pulling 3, 4, 5 hour swim practices every single day.
Wow.
I had a swim coach giving me sets. I went from a base interval of like the 130 to a 115 for at least a 12,000, 13,000 K practice. Like I became the fastest I've ever become in my life. And then I went to SCAR, DNF'd. And then after that, I was like, well, if I made it through training for SCAR and DNF, then it doesn't matter how hard I train. So I have definitely done some events where I swam like 3 miles total before going and swimming like a 15 miler. And I'm like, whatever, I've done this before. I know how bad it feels. There's no point training for it. Like, I just want the outcome. It's bad, right? That's how people get injured. That's how, like, I should not be. But I still kind of have that. Like, right now, if I need to go swim, like, a 15-mile race, I probably could. I haven't swam more than like a 10K in the last 2 years. I could probably go out there and swim like a 10 to 15 mile event. It would not be pretty. It would not be fast, but I would do it.
Right.
It's probably not the best way to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you on a lot of fronts, but I guess I've kind of put a method to my madness in the process but I still consider myself an outcome person as well. That's, but yeah, I don't think it is a good way to be. I think you can get injured and things like that. Plus you kind of, depends how much you depend on the outcome, but we could get into that another time. How do you handle hard situations? Like being in isolation?
I'm usually pretty mean to my kayaker. Like in the water or outside the water?
Yeah, what you tell me. Either way.
So I after being a kayaker, I recognize I can't be mean to my kayaker anymore. And I've tried to like really scale that back on like the will swim while crabby piece of it. So I think more so, and I recognize I did this for a project at work in like 2018, where I had to essentially like work and live in Kentucky for 3 months doing manual labor for like 10 to 14 hours a day. Yeah, it was a weird time in my life. And I worked for a company that I should not have been working for that long. Like, but I remember telling someone, they're like, why are you like, you should just quit. Like, and that was my coworker. He was like, the thing that they're putting you through right now, like, you should just quit. And I was like, I know, but I'm so good at suffering. Like, I'm literally like, I should put that on my resume. I'm very good at just suffering. And I was like, why am I so good at suffering? Like, why can't I just simply, like, other people are like, this sucks. Like, I'm done. And I'm like, no, now I have to finish. Like, because someone told me to do this shitty thing. I, for some reason, now have this competitive spirit that, like, I have to keep going and do it without complaint and, like, just do it. So I don't really know what's wrong with me there, but I feel like I am, like, expressly good at suffering, and repetitive motion suffering, which I feel like is what open water swimming is, because you literally just over and over, which is what I was kind of doing. Like, I was packing boxes all day, every day. People are like, you will literally, like, you will suffer until you break. And I was like, yeah, I'm good at that. I will move my arms until my shoulder, like, formally tears. I will tape boxes closed until my lower back can't stand up anymore. Like, I don't know why, but I seem to just be able to, like, put my mind to it and say, like, I have to suffer through this. Like, it is not an if I get done, it is when I get done. And I can do this. Like, I'm good at suffering, therefore I must.
Do you, like, turn it into a little game, or, like, do you any way that you kind of?
I just stop thinking.
Just keep going.
It literally, like, static. I just don't. I try not to be like, this sucks so much, except for when I'm running. If I'm running, every step and every second of it is like, I hate this. This sucks. I am miserable. Not a runner. But everything else, like, tape a box, close, tape a box, do that for 10 consecutive hours. And the whole time I'm just like that's literally what's going through my head. And if I, like, start to complain or like, ooh, I'm thirsty or I'm hungry, like, Nope, actually, I'm not going to die. Like, my arms are going to fall off. My back is probably not going to, like, have permanent damage. I can keep going for a little while longer. It's weird. And then I end up having injuries.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Daniela, like having, like, I'm trying to think of how to frame this, but like as you were saying all that, I was like, oh my God, that is so me in so many ways. I was the person who in college, if somebody said, oh, this is an easy A course, I'd get a B in that class. But anything that people were like, this professor never gives out A's, like those are the classes that I
and then like I start the curve.
And I definitely got an A. And I'm thinking, like, swimming, like, there's something about that it gives me a focus. Like, if it's gonna be the suffering and the hard or whatever, it's like, well, this is the focus. And something about that focus just puts me into the here and now. Like, I'm not thinking about the end a whole lot. It's just, okay, well, 10 more minutes of this or 30 more minutes of this or whatever, can I do that? And I feel like I sort of naturally go there. Like, once I started doing the long swimming, once I went through labor with my kids and like, the doula's like, okay, well, now I'm just gonna, she's like talking to me before labor. She's like, I'm just gonna ask you to get to the next point. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. That's what I do with every big project in my life. I break it up into a lot of little things and I say, okay, well, you can get to the next point. And then when you get there, you go, oh, well, the next one's just a little bit further off.
Yeah, I agree.
But it gives me a sense of focus or a sense of purpose that when I don't have something like that going on in my life, I really struggle, which is me right now. Oh, I feel so unanchored.
Okay, so that was my next question, is like, how can you like that ability to deal with adversity, can you apply that in social isolation?
Oh yeah, so I somehow went from doing, I don't know if any of you saw this, but I posted on my Facebook and I've been asking for donations, but I volunteered as a driver to drop off hot meals for a nonprofit here. Yeah, so donate, it's really good. I'm still dealing with that. So I emailed the guy because like my job is literally like process improvement, and I work for a robotics company where I create sound processes to sell products, and we sell robots. So I like have to have my shit down in a very like, this is how this thing is gonna, like how these robots are gonna work in your warehouse, and this is why you should buy them. But I have to like figure all that out virtually before there's even a robot on the ground. And so I'm a solutions designer, so I design the whole process. So I was the idiot who called the route manager after my driving route. And I was like, hey, here's some things that I would improve. Like, these are like, I cut 17 minutes off my route because I did X, Y, Z. And he was like, why don't we have a call tomorrow morning where you can explain this and I can tell you what we're doing? So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help. Like, if I can do like some minor things to help on the back end, like while I'm working, like everything I can do on my computer is like a lot easier for me than like not having my work calls during the middle of the day because I have to work. But like anything I can do like remotely to help you guys, absolutely. So like the next Tuesday morning, he gave me a half-hour like spiel about what he was doing. He was like, all right, you got it all? Cool, I quit. I'm like, what? So, and he was like, by the way, we have 12 drivers coming between 12 and 3, and it's 10 a.m. now, and we need routes for all of them. So figure this shit out because they're going to be waiting. We can't have people waiting there because we're gonna have hot meals that are getting cold and hungry people because they have no other meals today. And I'm like, well, fuck, okay. So then I like drop everything and figure this out. But like the whole day, it was so bad. Like there were drivers coming up and I'd be like, all right, in 2 minutes, I can figure out your 17 stop route. And here's how many people need how many meals. And this is the right order to go in, because if you go in a different order, you're gonna hit one-way streets that are gonna increase your drive time by like 24 minutes. Like, so I figured all that out. And I was like, no one else would do this. Like, I'm volunteering to do this. I am working the volunteer job, and I'm half-ass working my like regular job. I'm having work calls, and I'm trying to like literally answer questions on a work call while scheduling driver routes and then coordinating volunteer. Like, oh, a driver didn't show up. I'm like, oh, we gotta find another one. Can't have those meals not go. Like, So I figured this out, solved all these issues yesterday. No, the day before yesterday, Tuesday. I don't know what fucking day it is. Welcome to, like, every day is Wednesday, or Monday, I don't know. And so I had this like great time trying to figure all this out. So then I stayed up till like 2 a.m, Tuesday morning, and created like spreadsheets, reportables. I created like a software that can like send emails for me. Like, I did all this stuff. And yesterday we got the routes done. There were like no hiccups. Today I already have the routes sent out to drivers, and they start arriving at noon. They already have their routes. Like, everything's done. Literally everything's done for today. And I was like, I can do this. Like, if I can swim a marathon, like, I can figure out 30 people and their routes across Boston. And I did, but it was like, no one else would have done it. Like, it was miserable on Tuesday. Like, I had people yelling at me. I had drivers complaining that they got to a stop and the person didn't answer the door. And I was like handling all this stuff. And I'm like, it's just a process. Like, it's the next thing. Like, if I get through today, tomorrow's going to be so much easier.
So you are a process person, a process efficiency person.
Yeah, I get paid to
like
do that.
think of it. Yeah, well, no, but so it sounds like you're saying that, like, you, in order to kind of help you battle the isolation, you're just taking on more work so you can suffer a little bit while you're in isolation.
Also, like, meaningful suffering. I feel like meaningful suffering is important. Like, I suffer for work, but like, I'm bored during it, and it's like, no one's buying our shit right now anyway. But like, these people need meals. Like, they are hungry. They call me and they're like, when's my food getting here? My kids are so hungry. And I'm like, well, I'll get in my car and I need to go grocery shopping. I'm bringing groceries right now. And like, that to me is way better to do than like trying to sell a robot that no one's going to buy for the next 3 months because you can't go on the site to actually like give them the robots. Like, I'd rather get people hot meals. And my boss is like, all right, fine. Like, if you have to work on this for a couple hours. I didn't tell him I legitimately dedicated like 14 hours to it on Tuesday. He doesn't know that. Don't tell him that. But yeah.
We just have a couple minutes before we get cut off, but I wanted to ask if you had any recommendations for a future guest for our virtual swim practice, or recommendations for a better name than virtual swim practice. I'm open to that as well.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
And I'll message you. I feel like there could be some really funny names out there. So I recommend inviting Chris Grave, because he's unemployed and he spends his days working out, and he can spend like 40 minutes talking to you about something that he truly loves. He also was supposed to go to SCAR, Tracy. Like,
he's supposed to win SCAR.
Do a lot of life stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
I know he had a lot of swims planned this year that are probably not happening. So, but yeah, he's literally like sitting at home and aching for people to talk to.
Okay, we'll make sure he comes.
How is that different than Chris's life generally?
I mean, I feel like Chris in life generally before, well, I guess like he quit his job and then Corona happened. So they like are linked to me as like Corona equals Chris has time to actually comment on like all the Facebook posts and run every day and do all this stuff where he posts, you know, more naked selfies. But now he's just so much happier, guys. Like, between Chris from last year and Chris from this year, he's like a literally different human being.
That's good. Yeah, I'll try to catch him, see if he would want to come.
Yeah, let me know if I need to
help wrangle.
Oh, Kim.
You gotta come.
Daniela, I want to say just how fun it is hearing you talk about Boston. So I went to graduate school at Simmons, and my first kid was born in Boston, so I spent lots of time at Walden as a pregnant mama swimming across it with friends. And then we did a Provincetown swim. Have you ever swum in the harbor down there?
No, I'm scared of sharks.
Oh,
I feel like the bigger you are, the more likely they are to see you, and I'm a pretty massive human being.
The year we did it, there was a whale, so we had to reroute the whole route because
no. If a whale comes up, I'm like, I am A, peeing myself in the water, and B, you better like get me the fuck into a boat. Like, no. I touched like a leaf underwater in the harbor one day, and I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm out of here.
So you're really more of
if I'm swimming with other people, great. Like, if I'm swimming alone, though. I'm really, like, if I'm alone, I saw a rope, like someone had anchored something and a rope was just like underwater in a lake I'd never swam in before. There was so much screaming, wild kicking, flailing involved. My kayaker was like, "You hit my boat. What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "There was a rope. What if it's attached to a dead body that's about to float up?" And he was like, "Just swim, just fucking swim. Like, just swim away from the rope. Don't, like, you were going this way and then you went a hard left and literally tried to climb into the kayak." And I was like, "There was a rope." And he was like, "You tried to climb into the kayak because of a rope. You didn't even touch the rope. Like, you just saw the rope and you lost your shit." And I was like, I would like out now.
All right, we're gonna get cut off, so we'll let you
Right.
out now. But I invite you guys to take a minute and close your eyes on your own and think about yourself swimming and how that feels. It's sometimes we have time to do it at the end of these little